Today is an incredibly important day. Of course, it's International Women's Day, and there's been a major shift happening across South Australian businesses, non-for-profits and government organisations, all with the common aim of achieving gender equity.
That's it. This is being achieved in many different ways, being championed by the SA Leaders for Gender Equity. And to delve deeper, we are joined by Eldercare CEO and the SA Leaders for Gender Equity Chair, Jane Pickering. Welcome, Jane.
Good morning.
Jane, it's so good to have you here. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about International Women's Day? What's it mean to you? What's the day all about?
Okay, so International Women's Day is a great opportunity to highlight the contribution that women make generally to society, but just to also acknowledge that we've still got a long way to go in terms of ensuring that women are treated equally and equitable.
Definitely. And you're going with a hashtag Inspire Inclusion this year. What was the meaning behind that?
So I think it's really important that women inspire other women. And we can do that by taking our leadership roles incredibly seriously and working with not just women but men as well to do everything we can to improve equity and equality for women.
Can we have some examples of how you might inspire inclusion in day-to-day life?
I think this is where being a leader is really important and having some influence over your own organisation and the sector you work in.
Yep.
So for me, I've taken it really seriously to implement inclusive strategies in my own organisation, such as rainbow tick accreditation, white ribbon accreditation, and ensuring that we're a really values-driven organisation that takes inclusion and diversity seriously and part of our business as usual. So we've instilled all sorts of policies, procedures in our own organisation and living it every day.
Awesome. Jane, the SA Leaders for Gender Equity, it was formed back in 2012. Since its inception, what impacts has it had on gender equity in South Australia?
I think the main thing that we do is use our voices to highlight awareness, I suppose, of the issues. We've got two main goals. One is to address the gender pay gap in both our own companies and in our own sectors, but also generally. And the other one is to ensure that we increase leadership opportunities for women in business. So we're doing that on a daily basis, addressing those two issues within our own companies. And we've had lots of fantastic examples of organisations that have been part of the Leaders for Gender Equity. For example, I call out a company, Badge, who you can imagine construction is not well known for its gender equity and opportunities for women. But since the previous CEO joined the Leaders Group and now the new CEO, they've really taken it seriously to look at strategies to improve participation of women in their construction business,
Amazing.
Including programs for leadership within their organisation for women and also to support women in actual, on-the-ground construction jobs.
Yeah, great.
But they've also introduced flexible working arrangements for the men in the organisation as well. So that's just one example of how that's come out of the SA Leaders Group and their commitment for gender equity.
For businesses that want to assist in achieving gender equity and closing that gender pay gap, how can they get involved and start taking the steps in the right direction?
Sure, there's lots of information around to assist businesses, and I recommend going straight to the SA Leaders for Gender Equity webpage. If you just type it into Google, you'll bring up the webpage, and there we've got lots of toolkits and fact sheets and resources for businesses to help address some of the basic underlying issues that contribute to inequity. Information on how to manage unconscious bias, how to implement flexible working arrangements in your organisation, things like that that are practical and helpful.
It's been a privilege to have you in the studio for International Women's Day. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And Jane Pickering, CEO of Eldercare, of course, as well on the board at SA Leaders for Gender Equity. We look forward to seeing what the SA Leaders for Gender Equity achieves in the future. If you'd like to find out more about the great work that the SA Leaders for Gender Equity does, go visit their website, www.salge.com.au. Jane, pleasure as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.